and correctional facilities.
Sorry.
All good. So that's about masks. We're still obviously recommending getting vaccinated and boosted when you're eligible. We also, I can never remember month to month what we were talking about last month, but I think since last month, we probably talked about pediatric vaccines and how they're now available for children 6 months to 5 years. Both the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines are available. Pfizer is 3 doses. The first 2 doses should be given 3 to 8 weeks apart, and the third dose 8 weeks after that. And the Moderna vaccine for children requires 2 doses, 4 to 8 weeks apart. The COVID vaccine is free, available many places. You can look at our website, vaccinateLAcounty.com, for a list of places to get vaccinated. We also are recommending therapeutics. So I saw this helpful graphic. So an effective mitigation plan must include strategies for reducing illness severity and death once you have it, and strategies for reducing the spread. So strategies for reducing the spread are masking and testing. And then strategies for reducing illness severity and death include vaccinations, boosters, and therapeutics. There are several medicines available for free. There might be an administrative fee associated with administering some of the medicines, but they should be available at no cost. And there is a pretty wide range of people who are eligible for medication for COVID-19 if they do test positive. Some of the eligibility things include age 65 or older, if you have cancer, chronic liver, kidney, or lung disease, dementia, diabetes, disabilities, mental health conditions, overweight or obesity, pregnancy, smoking, substance use, weakened immune system. So it's a pretty wide net of people who are eligible for medication. So if you do test positive and are symptomatic or worried about severe disease, do contact your provider, or DPH has a call line, and I'll put it in the chat so you don't have to listen to a number. And I think that's it. Happy to answer any questions.
Does anybody have any questions for Lonnie? Well, very thorough. Thank you so much, Lonnie. Really appreciate it. I just want to take a moment to welcome everybody. Today's coalition meeting is about housing in general, housing resources. We know on the West Side that it's difficult. There's not a lot of resources, so people have had to, come up with unique and unusual ways of providing housing. And so we're gonna talk about some of those things this morning. We are recording it, and I believe that we're gonna start with Liz Lee from Safe Place for Youth. Are you there, Liz?
I'm here. Hi.
Hi, good to see you.
Good to see you, and thank you all so much for being willing to learn a little bit more about SPY and our programming this morning. Do you want me to just go ahead and jump in?
Yes, please do. Thank you.
Well, I'm Liz. I'm our Chief Program Officer over here at Safe Place for Youth. I just started in this past year, so I've been getting to know SPY's programming, and I'm really excited to talk you through it. So we serve unhoused youth ages 18 to 24. And we offer a pretty wide range of housing options because we know that the youth we serve just have a really wide variety of needs, and we want to make sure that we have something available for everyone as much as possible. So as far as our actual housing options, we have options ranging from 30 days up to 3 years. So we have an emergency housing program that's actually in Koreatown right now. There we offer up to 30 days for folks. It's a shared living environment. In all of our housing programs, we provide case management, have offerings for therapy, mentorship, advocacy opportunities, and just general growth and connection to education and employment. Some of our longer term options include a bridge home. So we partner with PATH to provide up to 90 days of interim housing for folks. And And we also offer more of a scattered site community focused host homes model, where we actually work with community members who maybe have an extra room in their home, maybe want to mentor a youth, and we provide a place for them to stay with a family. And that can be really helpful for folks who really just need that kind of day-to-day support in a family environment. We provide transitional housing as well. Our program, The Nest, works with pregnant and parenting youth. So you can be there, with kids, with your family. Single parents can also be there. And Roots to Grow, where we work with Venice Community Housing and provide up to 3 years of support for folks. In addition to all of that, we have our rapid rehousing program, so we can really get folks into units of their own, and allow them, support to get on their feet. That also comes with case management and different types of support. And we have a youth family reconnection. So if folks are looking to reconnect with their families, whether that's in state or within Los Angeles or out of state, we work with people to make sure that they can connect with families, if that is going to be their best long-term housing option. So that's kind of the broad strokes of what we do. If folks are interested in learning more about our housing, or if you have someone you want to refer, you can reach out to me directly. I can route that, or you can reach out to Kari Kamara, and I can put her email in the chat and mine as well. But if you just call SPY, you'll get routed somewhere and we'll figure out how to support. And that's about that.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Does anybody have any questions for Safe Place for Youth?
I have a question. This is Shay from St. Joseph Center.
Oh, you are?
I'm here. Liz, for the Koreatown location where you said it's shared housing, by shared housing, does that mean share house or share a room? Because we use those words interchangeably. And I know for a lot of works, a lot of people sharing a room is kind of a deal breaker, especially during COVID. So I was just curious what the model is.
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's shared rooms, and it's actually bunk beds. So it's 3 large rooms, and each of them house about 10 folks per room. So it is pretty squishy. So it'd definitely be something for somebody who's comfortable sharing space.
Is that your PodShare program?
Yep, that's the one.
I think that is a brilliant program.
It's really exciting, really, really exciting.
Oh, if that's PodShare, yes, that's much more hip. So thank you for clarifying.
Yeah. And
There's also a Jess has a question.
Hi, yes, thank you, Liz, for all that information. That's great. My question is, how does someone in this age group connect with your services? Can they just call and connect, walk in and connect, or is it referral only or only through 211?
we will connect however they can connect with us. So they're welcome to stop by our access center. If they're more comfortable emailing us, we have an online referral form that somebody could just fill out and we'll reach out to them. They can call. So whatever way people can get to us, we're happy to help.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any more questions?
Looks like
Darcy,
Yeah.
it's Paul.
Hi.
Liz, can you just expand a little bit on that last thing about the rooms? You're using
PodShare?
pods? Yeah.
PodShares.
Yeah. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so this one is new to SPY, and it's a pilot program that we're working on originally with DCFS to make sure that we were able to have folks who are aging out of the foster care system be able to go into some kind of home, because some folks were actually exiting into homelessness. Since then, we've expanded it to include whoever is interested in emergency housing. But essentially, PodShare is kind of a hostel model, typically. So for the most part, PodShares are kind of all around LA, and they're kind of a hotel that's very cheap. And again, has about like 10 bunk beds per room. They have a shared community space. So there's a kitchen that folks can utilize to cook their own meals, bathrooms, backyard area. And within we actually partnered with PodShare to utilize their model to provide emergency housing.
Okay, and when you say pod, I'm thinking of a blow up kind of thing. Is it that or not?
No, it's like large rooms with bunk beds. So it's all in one big giant house. And within those houses are big rooms with about 10 bunk beds.
And was there one more question? We good? Okay. Before we go on to the next person, I should have said this at the beginning, please introduce yourself in the chat. And just so that we can increase all of our connections. So thank you guys all. Next, for housing, one of the important things that we have to always consider is homeless prevention services. So the County of LA is going to give us some information about the programs that they have for homeless prevention. And Jessica? Are you there, Jessica? Jessica Morales from the county?
Unmuting.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, so, sorry about that, technical difficulties. Can you repeat your prompt over to me, or your question?
No, I was just turning it over to you for the county's homeless prevention services, and we're anxious to hear.
Okay, so with us today, I have two of our dispute resolution program providers, Center for Conflict Resolution. I have Chris Welch, we'll hear from him shortly, as well as our Loyola program, and we will be hearing from Sarah Campos. I believe I'm going to toss it over to Sarah to go first.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sarah Campos, and I'm the director of Loyola's Center for Conflict Resolution. And we are both a mediation clinic housed at the law school, but we are mostly a community mediation program. So we provide mediation services, kind of like mediation aid, legal aid to low income and modest mean folks. And we provide mediation in family law cases, landlord-tenant cases, neighbor-neighbor disputes, consumer merchant cases. So any type of dispute, really, we're doing probate cases, employment cases now. We're really branching out to a lot of areas where folks just can't get help, can't hire lawyers to help them resolve their conflicts. So we help them work with the parties directly to help them resolve their conflict outside of court. During COVID, we created specifically for housing a landlord-tenant options counseling tool where we walked both the landlords and the tenants, since we are neutral, through all their options for resolving a dispute. So we talk about pre-litigation, resolving it on your own, using our service to help them resolve it, or litigation options. And what happens after they go to litigation. There has been a moratorium on the litigation, but we are starting to get more cases now that are being filed. Lawyers are very smart and savvy, and they find ways to maneuver around some of the laws. So we are getting a lot of calls from folks who just still can't access even the rent relief program. So we have a list of referrals as well that we send them and direct them to other agencies that can help them if they don't want to use our services. So that's what we do. In this past year, from 2021, we've done 119 cases so far, and we've been able to resolve over 85% of those cases. So I did put our information on the chat. Our phone number is 213-736-1145, and we are open. We're working on a hybrid model. So someone's always at the office. We're open 9 to 6 Monday through Thursday and 8 to 5 on Fridays. And if someone is technically savvy or has access to a computer, they can reach us at www.localhousing.org. lls.edu /LCCR help request. It's in the chat. And most of the folks do reach us via telephone. 99% of our services are free. We work on a sliding fee scale. So if anyone earns $50,000 or less, the services are free. And then we have a fee waiver form that people can apply for even if they're over $50,000. So like I said, 99% of our folks qualify for free services. I'm happy to take any questions if anybody has any questions about our services.
Does anybody
I
have a
do.
question? Hi, Paul.
Hi. Sarah, thank you for that. What kind of legal, who do you use for your attorneys?
So we're lucky that 6 out of our 7 staff members are attorneys, myself included, but our role is to be a neutral. So we do have legal service providers. We do send them to House LA, BetSetic, all the legal service providers, neighborhood legal services, for more advice, but we do have a lot of information on our options counseling tool.
Do you ever use law students?
We do use law students as our volunteers, so they act as mediators as well. And we don't give legal advice though.
Okay,
Part
thank you.
of our ethics are that, if you're acting as a mediator, that's the hat you wear. Even if you're trained to be an attorney or a CPA, when you're mediating, that's our role. So I can give advice, but I don't.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, who is your next person?
Joining us as well is Chris Welch from Center of Conflict Resolution.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Welch with the Center for Conflict Resolution. We're located in the Reseda area of California, but the primary services that we provide with our contract to provide services with the county is court-connected mediation services. So we're another mediation provider. I think that with the contact through the county today, it was in the mediation realm of some of those services. The county has plenty of other, services as well, but for these 2 contacts, it's mediation services. And so court-connected would mean an eviction has been filed, right? So the eviction, from a housing perspective, the eviction has been filed already. There is potentially a case that is ready to go to the eviction process. We are going to have mediators that are present if this is SPA 5. So we would have mediators at the Santa Monica Courthouse that are available the day of the hearing, or trying to have mediation services that are occurring when an eviction has already been filed. That's kind of what I'm saying from the housing perspective right now. Our mediation services also cover small claims cases throughout 14 different courts in LA County, as well as civil harassment cases throughout 14 cases or 14 courts in LA County, and along with the UDs. So this is just one of the areas that we focus on in Santa Monica. We do those court-connected mediation services throughout the county of Los Angeles. So same goes with Sarah. I would also recommend, if there's individuals that are on the cusp of needing those legal services, that they're reaching out to the BetSetics, the Stay Housed LA, to make sure that they're getting that legal advice first, because the mediation is one to discuss and try to look at options within that context, but really trying to see what legal services they can get is best. Mediators cannot provide that legal advice. We can only give them that information to get there. So I just wanted to give that scope of what we provide, and we would be found within the court system helping to provide mediation services when it gets to that point. So thank you all very much.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris and Sarah. And I wanted to share our website where you can locate how to contact Chris and Sarah's teams, as well as other providers. Where is the share screen? And I'm sharing screen 3. Okay, if this worked. Oh, I still have to click share. Apologies. Okay. Am I sharing my screen now?
You are. Looks good.
Okay. Mediation in the middle, right?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So there are a total of 9 DERPA providers. Some do community-based mediation. Community-based mediation is where any party resident of LA County or business of LA County can submit a mediation request seeking to have a third party assist them in having communication with the party that they are in dispute. There is no minimum dollar amount that they could be disputing over. Sometimes it's not even about money. Sometimes it's somebody seeking an apology, somebody seeking an accommodation. Other times it is about money. So there is no minimum as far as what they can submit a mediation request for. It's just a person or entity who wants assistance in having a conversation. And we recognize that alone, parties may get their emotions, may get the better of them, and they may not think clearly, they may be too upset. And that's where mediation can guide them to have a civil, friendly conversation and explore the possibility of settlement before things escalate. That is our community-based mediations, quite popular. We have requests from neighbor to neighbor matters, you know, the trees, the fences, the parking, the loud noise, the dogs that are barking. We have a debt settlement claim. So it might be a business who's trying to recover money from another business or from another, or from a customer or consumer against a consumer. A landlord tenant matters, an array of landlord tenant, whether it's a security deposit is quite popular across all DERPA providers, I believe. Asking for repairs, asking more time before they have to leave a unit, a cash for key situation. Mediation can be used for a variety of things, but I think it's really important to let parties know that like Chris and Sarah said, we don't provide legal advice, but we do encourage folks to get that advice. We do have within Department of Consumer and Business Affairs counseling for folks and referrals to other agencies where they could get counseling so that they join the mediation prepared, knowing what how they want to proceed and what is best for them. Our day of hearing matters is something Chris covers. We as well cover any hearings at Stanley Mosque. And okay, how this website works. Here are the 9 service providers. If you expand on each one, you can see which area they dedicate themselves to, as well as how to contact them, their website. The map may also be useful for folks if they're more visual learners to see which spa they belong to and which spa they should seek out services from, as well as it's broken down, if we scroll further, to the cities so that they know which spa they belong to, and then again, which service provider they can reach out to. We have service providers that specialize in some specific topics, but they are welcome and encouraged to reach out to the individual provider to see if that is something they are interested in proceeding with. And I think that's it. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions? All right, is that everybody from the county?
That is all of us.
Jessica, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add one more thing, a couple more things. So we're funded to serve all of LA County. So anyone from any spa can call us and we will assist them. And also all our services are provided in English and Spanish. Again, 7 out of our 8 staff members are bilingual. And we also have volunteers that speak other languages. So we do try to accommodate other languages.
Wonderful, wonderful. A big part of housing is keeping people in their housing.
Yes, so that's our goal, is not to get them in court where a judge says you have to pay and leave, or you have to leave and then set up a payment plan. We do try to help them make their payments, find a way where they can get the money to make the payments, and then set up a payment plan and get them to stay in their house.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for that service. And, please, everybody, get this information out of the chat, because this is important. I will copy it also and send it out to the email group. So we will go ahead and move on. The Students for Students Shelter, the executive director is Shannon Vergao, and she had an emergency this morning and isn't able to be here to share briefly about the Students for Students Shelter. But since I'm on the board, I'm going to go ahead and just sort of give you the information. Students for Students, or S4S, is an incredibly innovative idea where there are currently, there are 3 shelters. There's a Bruin shelter at Mount Olive, Trojan shelter, and a slug shelter. There are 2 more that are starting up, and they usually go to faith-based organizations that might have room in their congregation or a parsonage or something like that. And students, we know that there are so many students that can barely afford going to school, let alone the rent in our area. So they live on campus or they live in their cars. And this ends up being an incredible opportunity. So if anybody, any students that are looking for housing, there's an application on their website, s4sla.org, and I can put that in the chat also. And you can find out more about their organization, and they're just doing amazing things. And they have student leaders from those going through the medical practices at UCLA, the social work practices. So they're students that volunteer to assist them, in the evening time at the faith-based organization. And if you are from a faith-based organization and are interested, please also reach out. And at Mount Olive, I believe there's like 12 bunk beds that are there. And, they come in at night, they're gone in the morning, and it's just a really, really great setup. So that's my plug for Shannon. And I know I didn't do it as well as she would have done it, but I'm going to introduce you to Ashay Stevenson from St. Joseph Center. Ashay, are you there? I know she's really busy this morning.
I am here.
There you are.
Sorry, I was just on mute. Let me put my screen on. Okay. Hi, everyone.
All right.
Ashay Stevenson, Senior Director of Programs. I just wanted to quickly talk about some of the housing options that we have on the west side. As Darcy said, housing options are very limited, but wanted to talk about what we have. And also Haley from PATH asked me to talk briefly about their housing options. She is en route on a plane. And so I told her I would do that. So I'll start off with SJC. I don't know how many folks are familiar with Project Room Key or PRK. We opened the first site in LA County and Century City back in April of 2020. That site has since closed, but we do still have our Project Room Key Venice site. It's at the Cadillac Hotel on Oceanfront Walk. That site, after over 2 years of being in operation, is set to close in September, actually 2 months from today, September 21st, but we are still taking intakes through August 7th. The way that one gets into Project Room Key is through our outreach teams. We have outreach teams, both a Venice-based outreach team and then just a SPA 5-wide outreach team. So I put my email in the chat, and so you're welcome to refer folks directly to me, and then I can connect you to one of our outreach teams. The requirements for that is that you do need to be COVID vulnerable, which is either 65 or over, or have a chronic health condition, which quite frankly is pretty broad now. So if you smoked 100 cigarettes in your lifetime, I know I have, you would be eligible. So, you know, obviously we're trying to house COVID vulnerable folks on the west side. So that is our priority. So again, just reach out to me if you have someone that you think would be eligible. The other program that we have is called the Manor, which is actually DH. So Project Green Key is the funding comes through LASA. The Manor comes through the Department of Health Services. It is a 60-bed program. It is located in Santa Monica, 19th and Pico, so a very good location for our folks that want to stay on the west side. They can walk to the beach. You know, one kind of barrier, I think, for some folks is that you do have to share a room, and it's not as cool as PodShare, just to point that out. But it is, you know, it is shelter. You do get 3 meals a day, and then you also get connected to Department of Health Services resources, including vouchers and intensive case management and that kind of thing. And you, again, could reach out to me. That also requires a referral from our outreach team just to confirm that the person is actually homeless. So if you reach out to me, I can connect folks. And it is for people who have a mental or physical disability. Neither Project Green Key or the Manor, unfortunately, are accessible to people in wheelchairs. Although Project Green Key does have an elevator, it's an old building, so it's not that reliable. So we you know, advise against folks who are wheelchair bound to be in either program. And then in terms of PATH, PATH has some Project Home Key sites. So the difference between that and Project Grim Key is strictly, well, it initially started off as crisis housing and over time has become interim housing. Project Home Key sites are either for interim or permanent housing. PATH runs those, again, like Project Grim Key, you know, motels and hotels were converted into housing for homeless people. Those sites are actually shutting down for renovations so that they can make them into actual permanent housing units, so with kitchenettes and that kind of thing. Those will be shutting down soon, but I did want to mention them because they are a resource in the community, and once they're renovated and open back up again, we'll be taking in clients. And then the other site that PATH has that they share with SPY that Liz had mentioned earlier in the presentation is the Bridge Home. It's located on Main and Sunset in Venice, and they serve adults, and that is referred essentially through outreach teams as well. So as you can tell, most of these programs are referred through outreach teams. And again, because we want to make sure that people are homeless, because it is such a limited resource, we just want referrals to go through the outreach teams who identify people that are living, you know, living in uninhabitable situations on the west side. So I know that was a lot. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Hi. Yes, thank you so much. Anything for families? It sounded like all of those were just kind of single or couple adults. Anything SJC has for families that are open right now?
Yes, thank you for mentioning that. I apologize for
No problem.
not the families. We don't directly run sites for families, but what we do is we have beds allocated to us that we can funnel families into. So we have beds at the, or units, I should say, at the Westwood Transitional Village, which is run by the Salvation Army. That's right on Sepulveda. And then we also have beds at the TLC, and those are, again, those are beds that we basically, so for example, if a family comes in through 211 or our outreach teams, we can do a referral through our family resource team into those beds. So although we don't directly operate them, they are our beds to refer into. So thanks for pointing that out. And unlike kind of a typical shelter bed for an individual, those are actual units that the family has, which is obviously more appropriate to house families in. And that is transitional housing. So you get connected to a housing navigator and, you know, what used to be called wrapper housing, which is now called a time limited subsidy program. So thank you for pointing that out. Yes, we do have options for families.
Awesome, thank you.
Good morning, Archie. This is Mel. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. I just have a quick couple of questions. So regarding families, because I'm here at St. John's, so I oversee our homeless program here at the hospital. So are they not to call 211 or call 211 so that they can be referred?
Oh yeah, they can, we always advise folks to call 211 because 211, I mean, can not only refer to SJC, but to everywhere, and they refer based on where the person is. And they also have other kind of resources like, emergency motel vouchers and that kind of thing. What they will do is, depending on where that person is, they will connect them to our family resource team, to our family resource line that is answered by our family resource team, and then they can connect them that way. But you're the staff, you said you're at St. John's?
Yeah, this is Mel.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, Mel.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm okay.
Oh yeah. I mean, you email me all the time, Mel. So you can
Yes, I do.
But yes, you can have them. I mean, but since they're on the west side, obviously, because they're attached to St. John's Providence, you can refer them directly to the FRT line.
Okay, and then as far as the PRK rooms, so referrals, would you like for us to send the referrals to you or how?
Yeah, you can email me directly.
Okay, that's all
Sure.
I needed to know. Good
And
to
I
see
will,
you.
good to speak with you too. And I will put the FRT line in the chat for folks so that they are aware. So again, that's specifically for families
Okay.
that are homeless on the west side.
Is that first responders? What does FRT stand for?
Oh, it's the Family Resource Team hotline.
Okay. So
Yeah.
is it not called the Family Solution Center anymore?
Well, good question. The Family Solutions Center is like the actual center, which is located in Mar Vista. But most people, rather than having people schlep to that center, we have them called the FRT hotline. But it is answered by folks that are housed at the Family Solutions Center.
Okay, so FRT team will respond either from a 211 referral or a general referral via email, correct? Okay.
Oh, no, you can call, it's a line. So I'm actually going to give you the hotline number. I'll put it in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Good seeing you.
Good to see you too.
Hi,
Those were
Ashay.
excellent questions. Yes, go ahead, Melissa.
Oh, thank you. I just had a quick question. These programs, the person has to be living in the West Side area. Is that correct?
Yes. So the resources are for folks on the west side. I mean, the reason for that is as Darcy started off this presentation, we are so limited in terms of what we have on the west side. And so, yes, the resources prioritized for people that are homeless on the west side.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions? Oh, Daniel, you've got your hand up. And Yvonne, sorry, I wasn't seeing hands. I'm so sorry.
Thank you. Ashay, can you tell me, and thanks for your presentation to everybody this morning. Ashay, you may have just responded to this question 2 questioners ago, but who does one contact if one is unhoused to gain access to one of your sites, be it Project Room Key, Project Home Key, or a Bridge Home?
So folks can always call 211, right? I mean, that's what we kind of, ask everyone to call, because again, they have access to the resources throughout the county, not just, and throughout the SPI, not just St. Joseph Center. And then again, they do have some resources that they can give, like emergency motel vouchers and that kind of thing. But in terms of, for example, if you have identified someone who is homeless, you can reach out to me and then I can connect them. Well, actually, let me back up. I do this all the time, like, oh, reach out to me. And then, I don't respond to the hundreds of emails I get per day. Well, I do, but I'm up to midnight doing it. Anyway, LA Hop is the place that it's the link that was created for folks to be able to say, hey, I have a woman who is homeless on my corner. Can you please deploy an outreach team? And the reason for that is because, often we'll get multiple requests for the same person or the same encampment. And they created that system so it could kind of streamline the process. And so all the requests could go into one portal. And then they could also track where homeless people are and how many times, someone, for example, is making requests about a specific individual. Then on my team, we have 2 outreach coordinators that comb through all those requests, and then they deploy outreach teams depending on where the person is. So we have a Venice outreach team, we have a Culver City outreach team, We have a spa-wide outreach team, as I mentioned earlier, that covers all 4 quadrants in SPA 5, north, west, east, south. And then we also have a team that specifically outreaches to like public spaces, so like parks and the beach and that kind of thing. So I will put the LA Hop message in the chat, and I mean the LA Hop link, and that is the best way. Now, that being said, Darcy will also often email me about like specific people that she's seen and that kind of thing. But the only reason why I ask things to go through LA Hop is again, it's a way to track things that I think is really important. So we can also really show like where homelessness is on the west side, and the kind of folks that are homeless, demographics and that kind of thing. That's the other thing. When you do make a request via LA Hop, I encourage folks to put as much information as possible, not only about the demographics of the person, but also any other sort of identifying information so that they're easy to find, especially if they're if they're in a place where there's other homeless folks, but you particularly are concerned about that person due to their vulnerability. And I'll put that in the chat.
Thank you.
All right. Coco.
Thank you. So my question is, as far as the assistance that you provide for families, what's the length of stay for that?
For the transitional housing, I think the length of stay varies. To be honest, there's a lot of changes that are going on right now in terms of interim housing because people, to be honest, were staying there too long. I mean, interim housing is really meant to be an interim intervention between kind of crisis housing or living on the street or in your car and permanent housing. And so, I mean, traditionally transitional housing, people could be there for like a year or more, but they're really trying to move folks through the system out of interim housing and into permanent housing. So it also frees up a bed or a unit for a family because as you can imagine, we're kind of LA is always unfortunately getting more and more homeless families coming in. And so from various parts of the city, county, state, country. And world, to be honest with you, there's a lot of folks from other countries here as well. So I bring that up to say that they're really trying to shorten the stay more to like a 90 or, a 90-day stay or, 180-day stay. Again, really to make sure that people are moving through the system and not kind of lingering in interim housing, because obviously the idea is to get everyone permanently housed.
Excellent. Does that answer your question, Coco?
Yes, that way, the people who are in our program reaching out to us for assistance, we can kind of give them an idea of what they could expect when they're, finally connected. So that helps a lot. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Jeanette.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I have a follow-up question, what Coco asked. And sorry, I have my dog peeing in the background. So within the time frame of their stay, maybe in that 90-day period, is there any interventions being offered while they're in there so that way they have the opportunity to leave that kind of setting and go into a permanent housing? What are some of the things that are being done to support these individuals so they can leave homelessness?
Yeah, so obviously they don't put, we don't put those tight timeframes without interventions so that what they're trying to do is make sure that there are interventions in place at these housing sites so that people can move along. That's a great question. So they have a case manager that kind of deals with like day to day, what's going on with folks. I mean, whether that's around their actual room or food or supplies or whatever. And then they have housing navigators. We have housing navigators. So they're on our staff that are co-located at these sites that literally help them kind of navigate through the housing process, whether that's to get them document ready, to, look at actual units that fit kind of their family size and budget. They can, take them to viewings. There's funding through the housing navigation program for application fees because a lot of properties will require that and they can be, steep if you're on a limited budget. And then they can be connected to what we call a time limited subsidy, which is literally a subsidy that lasts for, it can last for up to a year. And then the idea would be that if they're eligible for it, to connect them to a longer term voucher if for some reason they are unable to work, for whatever reason, and they're going to need more long-term support. So yes, so there absolutely are interventions at the interim housing sites. And I bring up and I don't want anyone to quote me on this about the 9180, because the family system, my colleague Maya is much more of an expert in this, but I bring up the fact that they're trying to shorten the lengths of stay in interim housing to make sure that people are moving along the continuum, not to penalize people in any way. And so the idea is that they bring more resources to the interim housing sites so that people actually have the ability to move on and into permanent housing. I mean, I do have to say that it's not only about the staff interventions, but also about the person's kind of, willingness to look at housing options. We do have folks that stay in interim housing, not for a lack of effort on the provider side, but just for sometimes a lack of willingness to move out of interim housing. There's some, there's some clients we have that would be happy to stay at PRK forever. But, for whatever reason. And so it's not only about the services that the provider is offering, but also about clients kind of, willingness to work with that provider on seeking out permanent housing options. But yes, they absolutely provide interventions. It's a great question.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And the other question was, I know that you mentioned that it would be best that individuals call 211. And I think I heard a couple months ago or years ago that the reason why they do that also is because they need a referral, maybe, and they could do it through 211. Is that correct or not? I know you mentioned something about referral yourself into some of your.
Yeah, so 211 will basically refer to our FRT line, right? And so the only reason I talk about 211 is because because they have access to services throughout the county, so it's not just SJP. But if it's a family, since we're the lead provider in SPA 5, if it's a family, they will automatically refer them to FRT. That's why I put that number in the chat. So you can refer folks directly to there if they are a family who's homeless in SPA 5. Does that make sense?
Starting at 10 o'clock.
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome.
Any more questions?
Yes, sorry. When you were talking, it made me think of something new. So you mentioned that one of the interventions is a housing navigator that can actually, go along with the families to show them units, take them to viewings. So are you working already with landlords that will be willing to rent to those individuals who don't have the best credit, might be employed, but just can't find housing because of that?
We do. And there are a lot of, and there are incentives around that, around renting to folks that maybe don't have good credit or don't have a good background check or that kind of thing. And so, yes, we do work with landlords that are willing to rent to our folks.
Okay, thank you.
Or folks that you said that have those barriers.
Hey, Archie, I just got a quick question. What is the time limited subsidy? What is that?
It's basically what rapid rehousing. It's just a new name for rapid rehousing. They just decided to change the name. And so as of July 1st, it's now being called the time limited subsidy program. And to be honest, I think it's a good change because it really does spell out exactly what it is. It's like, it's a subsidy, but it doesn't last forever. And the idea again is to help people either through work or benefits or a combination of a shallow subsidy be able to ultimately afford rent on their own. But yes, it's basically the old rapid rehousing.
And do you have to be, so it's both for adults and families, right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, so, and then is there any prevention monies in there?
There is prevention money. Thanks for bringing it up. Yes, we do have homeless prevention funds as well, both for adults and for families. And again, I mean, 211 is a good, I mean, again, SPA and countywide can refer folks, but also for families, the FRT line could triage them and direct them to the homeless prevention program as well. And then we also have our access center. I can put that's for adults. Our homeless access center, HSC. And they can call that number to get, services for adults. The access center is by appointment only, but they do have somebody manning the lines or personing the lines so that they can call there and get information about services, including homeless prevention. One more thing, I know we're running out of time, but I do want to point out that one kind of change in the system is in order to get access to kind of housing navigation and time limited subsidies and those other kind of things, that's all through interim housing. So one needs to be in some sort of interim housing setting to get access to those services. So I just wanted to point that out.
Awesome, awesome. Ellen, you've got a quick question?
Yes, a quick one. So Shay, thank you very much. I am new to the Board of Safe Parking LA, and I understand that people living in their cars are not, don't have access to housing navigators because I'm not quite sure. Are they not quite as vulnerable? Do they consider a car a house? I mean, I'm just really confused by that distinction.
That is a great question. And that is actually incorrect. In SPA 5, we have dedicated housing navigators to Safe Parking LA sites. I think we're one of the few spas that has. And so we have been in touch. My team has been in touch with your team around co-locating a housing navigator at, we allocated 10 slots to the Safe Parking LA sites in SPA 5. And so they will have access to housing navigation. It's true, it's not throughout the county, but in SPA 5, and I want to say maybe SPA 1 or 2, they allocated housing navigators to Safe Parking LA sites.
Great, thank you. The other thing, just for everybody on the, Safe Parking is opening up 50 slots at LAX in August.
That's awesome.
So just, I'll send around a flyer when it is finalized. Thank you.
That's great news.
Ellen, I just have a quick question for you because I'm updating our hospital resource guide and safe parking was up next, literally. Are there, so the information on the website, just so I have it correctly, that's the correct way of making referrals, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, are you, and as it says for program questions, call between 8 and 4, is that correct?
Yes, that's, okay. We're a small organization. That's when the line is staffed.
Okay, and okay. All right, just want to make sure we have everything accurate here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mel.
Okay, well, we need to move on, but Genevieve, you got the last question.
Just very quickly, and I realize this may not be everyone's forte, but I know that there's such a lack of affordable housing. Is there anything being done on the advocacy level to try to include more affordable housing units in new developments and to create more affordable housing units in existing places?
I mean, there is that advocacy. I can tell you that I just recently was on a call with some folks from Mike Bonin's office and a developer around micro units, what they're calling kind of micro units, where, you know, people have their own room, own bathroom, and then they share like dining, living, kitchen with other folks. It's a model that we've been able to place a lot of folks into such units. I mean, they're called SROs, but that has such a negative connotation. So I like micro unit better. And, you know, we placed a lot of folks in those units in South LA. They're not only affordable, but they build an actual community because sometimes, you know, people don't do well when they're just kind of in a unit by themselves in an apartment building without that sense of community. And so we are advocating for that because I think that could be a really good affordable option on the west side. But, you know, I know other people are doing things too.
Awesome. You know, there are so many housing providers that do a remarkable job and are working in tandem with all of these folks that have talked, one of which is Venice Community Housing. And, you know, we, just because we didn't have time, I mean, we don't have shared housing. That's an important resource. There's incredible resources. And so we might have to repeat this also, but Community Corp of Santa Monica is, you know, one of the things that I get asked all the time is how to get access to Community Corp. So Tara, we're so happy you're here. You can take it away.
Oh, great. Thank you so much, Darcy. Hi, everyone. I'm Tara with Community Corp and just wanted to update you all. We are an affordable housing provider in the Santa Monica and West Side area. Our list is always open, and for our Santa Monica buildings, it runs through the city. I'll put the link in the chat so anyone can apply anytime. So if you know of anyone that needs housing, encourage them to apply. Again, I'll drop the link in the chat. It takes about 5 minutes. It's a super easy application. Unfortunately, we do have a long wait list. So a couple pointers I want to point out. If you, someone you know, a client or anybody you know has a disability of any kind, whether it's physical, mental, whatever, make sure they put that in their application because we and other housing providers set aside specific units for people with disabilities. The other thing is that the smaller the unit they ask for, usually the better chance they have. So not to say we want overcrowding or anything like that, but for example, if it's a one-person household and they're willing to live in a studio, that it gives them a better chance of getting housed quicker. So it's just a few tips. We also are building properties outside of Santa Monica now. We just opened our first one in Mar Vista. Unfortunately, we had 6,000 applications for 50 units. So that just tells you how great the need is. But we will be opening about 200 units this year. So that'll give, you know, a lot of new housing opportunities. We are also going to be starting a new project in Westchester that'll start construction in December. It'll be 100 units, so a good amount of units, 40 permanent supportive housing units. So look out for that one, but we're just going to be breaking ground later this year. So happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Questions? This is such good news. And if people wanted to get on the list, do you have a link for them? I mean, or does it, what do they do?
Yeah, so for our Santa Monica properties, it's all through the city of Santa Monica. I'll drop that link in the chat. For anything outside, like our Mar Vista project, Westchester, we're also working on one in Culver City. You can just reach out to our office and I'll drop that phone number in the chat.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
I
Are
have
there
a
any
question,
questions?
sorry.
No, go
Yes, I
ahead.
have one. So you mentioned for people to put in their application if they have a physical or mental disability. If it's a family and it's the child that has been diagnosed with a mental or has a physical impairment, is that also counting towards their chance of getting a space if it's the child in the family?
You know, I don't know how it would work in terms of their chances, but they should definitely indicate that.
Okay, Jess?
Yes. Hi. Thank you, Tara, for all that information. In Westchester, what is the location of that one?
That is the one at 8333 Airport Boulevard that we've been working on for a few years. You've probably heard about it just through some of the community meetings.
Yeah. Okay. And is there any particular timeline for the opening of that one?
We'll start construction in December. It'll probably take 18 to 24 months, unfortunately. So it's another, let's just say 2 years out.
And the applications for that particular unit, for those 100 units, do you know when that'll open up and where?
That's
probably about a year and a half.
Okay. And
so I'll drop the phone number for our office. I'll also put my email address. You can feel free to reach out anytime.
Awesome. Thank you.
But we'll try to come in and give updates here when we can as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions before we conclude this? This is incredible. And I, really appreciate, thank you, Tara. Thank you to all of the speakers. I really appreciated the comment about advocacy, because as you can tell from all of these, we've got incredible agencies doing remarkable work in an environment of too few units and the expense of building in this area. And so, advocacy is absolutely paramount. And so United to House LA is doing incredible work. I know that Erica made mention of that in the chat also. Just whenever you have the opportunity to advocate, to get behind these agencies that are trying to build, that are trying to, expand, please lend your voice to that. So definitely copy the chat before you leave, because this is all really, really good information, so important, and such a crisis we have on our streets. But when you hear these folks, it always encourages me that we have got some of the best people that I could even imagine that are working on this. And so, and our elected officials also are doing an incredible job. So any other final questions, comments? Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate you being here. Have a wonderful day.
Bye.